The town of Halberd was small, quiet, and surrounded by thick woods and still water. At its center was Midnight Lake, a cold, black mirror that never seemed to thaw, even in the heart of summer. Locals said the lake had no bottom. That it was older than the town. Older than the trees. Maybe even older than time itself. Most people didn't go near it after dark. Some didn't go near it at all. But teenagers? Teenagers don't believe in old stories. Especially when they're dared. On the last night of October, 4 friends, Evan, Laura, Dax, and Nicole, snuck out after curfew. They brought flashlights, snacks, and the kind of fearless confidence that comes with being young and unaware. The trail to the lake was narrow and twisted through the trees like a scar. None of them spoke much on the hike. They didn't need to. The forest was alive with night sounds, rustling leaves, distant owls, and the faint lapping of water ahead. When the trees finally opened up, the lake lay before them. Flat, still, and darker than the sky above. The moon was high but hazy behind drifting clouds. Not a single ripple broke the surface. They set up camp on a small ridge overlooking the water. Evan started a small fire while Laura and Dax unpacked their things. Nicole stood silently at the edge of the ridge, staring at the lake. Laura broke the silence. So, who actually believes the stories? Which stories? Evan asked. That people disappear out here. Or that the lake talks to you, if you listen long enough. Dax laughed. That's just stuff parents say to scare little kids. My brother used to tell me the same thing when I was 5. Nicole didn't say anything. Laura turned. What about you, Nicole? Nicole's eyes didn't move from the lake. I think every story starts with something true. A log cracked in the fire. Sparks flew up into the sky. They roasted marshmallows, told jokes, and tried to shake off the unease. But the silence between their words grew longer. The wind had died completely. The forest felt like it was holding its breath. Then Evan pointed out over the water. What's that? A light. Floating. Faint and pale, like a lantern drifting on the surface. Dax leaned forward. Probably a fisherman. Who the hell fishes at midnight? Laura asked. The light blinked once, then slowly sank beneath the surface without a sound. They waited. Nothing. Nicole stood up. I want to see what it was. Evan reached out. Are you crazy? But she was already walking toward the shoreline, her feet silent on the pine needles. The others scrambled after her. As they reached the lake's edge, the water rippled gently, as if something had just slipped beneath. Nicole stared down, then looked up at the dark horizon. It called to me, she said. What did? Laura whispered. Nicole didn't answer. Behind them, the fire cracked again. But none of them turned back. They were too busy listening. Somewhere, across the water, faint as breath, they heard a whisper. Evan shivered. Did you hear that? Dax glanced back toward the fire. It sounded like someone saying something. But from across the lake. Or under it, Nicole murmured. Laura shook her head. Okay, that's enough. It's just the wind. Or an echo. Or our imaginations. But the lake was still. Dead still. And there was no wind. Nicole stepped closer to the water's edge. Her shoes sank slightly into the soft, muddy ground. She crouched down, staring into the black surface like it was a window. What are you looking for? Evan asked quietly. I don't know, she said. But I think it's looking for me too. The others exchanged glances. Dax turned on his flashlight and swept it across the lake, but the beam just disappeared into the darkness like it was being swallowed. Suddenly, the light came back. Another beam. Another flashlight. No, a lantern. Floating. Closer this time. It wasn't bobbing like before. It was gliding. Smooth. Steady. Evan took a step back. That's not normal. Then they saw it, just behind the lantern. A figure. Standing on the water. Still. Watching. Laura's voice cracked. Is that a kid? The figure raised one arm. Slowly. And waved. Nicole didn't move. Then the light went out. Total darkness. They scrambled back toward the fire, breathless. No one spoke. No one asked questions. They sat in silence, the firelight flickering across pale, frightened faces. Nicole didn't speak for the rest of the night. By morning, the fog had rolled in thick and heavy. Everything looked different, the trees, the shoreline, even the trail. They packed quickly. Nicole's bag was gone. In its place, on the edge of the fire pit, sat an old, rusted lantern. Still damp. Still cold. And inside, a soft blue light, pulsing like a heartbeat. She picked it up. It fit perfectly in her hand. Like it had always been hers. They didn't speak much on the hike back. The trail twisted in ways it hadn't the night before. Trees leaned in closer. The fog never lifted. By midday, they still hadn't found the road. Dax checked his phone again. No signal. Still. Evan looked up. We've been walking in circles. Laura stopped, panting. I think we passed that same tree at least twice. The one with the 3 cuts in the bark. They turned. And there it was, the same tree, marked like claws had raked across it. Nicole stood apart from them, holding the lantern. Its glow had grown slightly brighter. She wasn't breathing hard. She wasn't sweating. I think we're not supposed to leave, she said. Dax snapped. What do you mean we're not supposed to leave? We were just camping. This was just a joke. A dare. Nicole looked over her shoulder toward the lake. It knows we're here now. You looked into it. You heard it. That's how it starts. Evan walked up to her, voice low. Nicole, what the hell are you talking about? She blinked slowly, like she was trying to remember a dream. I think I've been here before. When I was little. Laura's brow furrowed. What? I almost drowned. My mom pulled me out. I was 4. But I remember something grabbing my ankle. Something cold. I had nightmares for years. But they stopped eventually. Until last night. Silence. Then, from the fog, a sound. Not far off. Laughter. Children's laughter. But not playful. Wrong. Distant and echoing, like it was being replayed on an old tape. The group turned to run. Evan took the lead, pushing branches out of the way. Laura and Dax stayed close behind. Nicole walked. She didn't need to run. The laughter didn't bother her. She just followed the glow of the lantern. By evening, they stumbled back into the clearing where they had camped. The fire pit was still there. So were their backpacks. But something was off. The fire pit wasn't cold, it was warm. Fresh. Burning embers still pulsed in the ash. Evan backed up slowly. We've been gone all day. We left this. There's no way. Laura screamed. A shadow stood just at the edge of the clearing. It didn't move. It didn't speak. It just stood, half shrouded in mist. Dax raised his flashlight, it flickered, then exploded in a burst of sparks. The shadow vanished. Nicole stepped into the firelight. They're watching now, she said calmly. Evan turned to her. Who is? She looked up at them. Eyes glowing faintly blue. The ones who live beneath the lake. The air dropped 10 degrees in a second. Laura clutched her arms and backed away from Nicole. What's happening to you? Nicole blinked. Nothing's happening to me. Remember now. Remember what? Dax whispered. Nicole's gaze drifted toward the fog. It's not just a lake. It's a doorway. A place where memories go when they die. People think it's haunted, but that's not right. It's not haunted. It's hungry. The ground beneath them shuddered, subtly, like something deep below had just shifted. A ripple passed through the earth, and the glowing coals in the fire pit flared up briefly, blue instead of orange. Then came the voices. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. All around them. Some crying. Some laughing. Some whispering. All overlapping. Evan spun in place. Where's it coming from? The lake, Nicole said softly. It's speaking. Laura fell to her knees, hands over her ears. Make it stop. Dax stood frozen, eyes locked on the tree line. I think I see them. Figures. In the mist. Children. Adults. People dressed from different eras, some in modern jackets, some in old-timey coats, some barefoot, soaking wet. They stood silently, watching. No eyes. No mouths. Just empty sockets and pale skin. Then one of them stepped forward. A little boy. Eyes glowing faint blue. He raised a hand and pointed to Nicole. She nodded. No, Evan said. No, no, no. We're not doing this. You're coming with us. Nicole turned to him. Her face was calm, almost peaceful. I was always going to come back. I just forgot. She reached into her coat and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. She knelt and placed it in the center of the fire pit. The fire surged upward, bright and unnatural, and the whispers stopped all at once. Silence. Then, from the woods, the child walked into the clearing. He stopped just before the flame, looking down at the bundle Nicole had laid there. No one moved. The fire turned blue again. The cloth fell open, revealing a small, water-damaged music box. It clicked open on its own. A haunting lullaby played, slow, warped, but recognizable. The child stepped into the flames. He didn't burn. The fire pulled inward like a breath, sucked him in. And then vanished. So did the music. And the cold. The fog lifted slowly. The trees looked normal again. Birdsong returned. Laura gasped. It's over? Nicole shook her head. It's never over. We just gave it something it wanted. Evan looked at her, eyes hollow. And what happens next? Nicole turned toward the lake. It waits. That night, they didn't sleep. They sat around the weak, flickering fire, all except Nicole, who kept her distance, sitting near the edge of the clearing where the fog met the trees. She held the lantern in her lap, watching the flame within slowly pulse, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. No one dared speak until well past midnight. Finally, Dax said it, we should have never come here. No one disagreed. Nicole turned her head slightly. You didn't come here. You were brought. Evan stood. Stop talking like that. You're not making sense. We came on a dare, Nicole. We walked here. We chose this. Nicole looked up at him. Her voice was still calm. You think people who drown choose to? The lake chooses. It opens for the ones it wants. A branch snapped in the woods. Then another. Footsteps. Heavy. Laura clutched Dax's sleeve. We're not alone. Out of the woods stepped a man. Middle-aged. Thin. Wet from head to toe. He wore clothes from another time, maybe the 70s. A name tag dangled from his soaked coat, Raymond/Parks and Rec. He said nothing. Just stared. Then smiled. His teeth were wrong, too many, too sharp. Nicole stood. He was the ranger here once. He drowned trying to pull a kid from the water in 1973. But he never left. Raymond raised one hand and pointed behind them. The lake had crept closer. The water was no longer lapping at the shore, it had risen silently, covering the fire pit, the logs, the trail behind them. It now surrounded the clearing. They were on an island. Trapped. Evan looked around wildly. How is that even possible? It was dry 10 minutes ago. Nicole closed her eyes. This is how it begins. The lake isolates. Then it remembers. Blue lanterns blinked into view across the black surface. Dozens. Then hundreds. Each one hovered above the water. Each one held by a figure. A child. A woman. A man. A shadow. All silent. All waiting. Laura backed up. What do they want? Nicole's eyes opened again. They want peace. But the lake never lets them have it. It collects them. It binds them. And now it wants more. Dax stumbled toward her. So what do we do? What does it want from us? Nicole looked at the lantern in her hands. It wants a story. She stepped into the water. The water didn't swallow Nicole. It welcomed her. Each step sent soft ripples out toward the lanterns, which parted slowly to make a path. The figures holding them, the drowned, the taken, the remembered, bowed their heads as she passed. Evan shouted after her. Nicole! Don't do this. She turned back once. Her voice was hollow, but steady. You don't understand. I've always belonged here. Then she kept walking. The lake deepened, yet she didn't sink. Her footsteps echoed across the surface like it was glass. The sky above changed, clouds tearing open to reveal a swirling mass of stars that didn't belong to this world. The constellations twisted like they were alive. In the center of the lake, the lantern stopped. Nicole stood still, surrounded by the circle of glowing eyes. She raised the lantern in her hands. I remember now, she said, voice louder than it should have been. I remember who I was. I remember falling. I remember the cold. But most of all, I remember the voices. She placed the lantern on the surface. It floated there, pulsing. Then she spoke one final sentence. Let the rest forget. The lake lit up. The lanterns exploded into pillars of blue fire. The sky cracked like glass. A scream, ancient and deafening, rose from the water and shot into the stars. Back on the shore, Evan, Laura, and Dax fell to the ground, covering their ears, their eyes, their mouths. When they looked up again, it was morning. The lake was still. The fog was gone. The trail was clear. Nicole was gone. No lanterns. No figures. Just birdsong and light. 1 week later. Evan sat in his bedroom, staring at a blank wall. He didn't speak anymore. He didn't eat much. The others were no better. Laura didn't sleep. She kept waking up drenched in lake water. Dax had started drawing strange symbols over and over again across every surface of his room. None of them remembered what happened that night. Not clearly. Just flashes of blue. Ripples. And her voice. 6 months later. A new family moved to Halberd. Their daughter liked to take long walks. She found the lake by accident. She came home that night with a lantern. Said a girl gave it to her. Said the girl lived in the water. And when the fog rolls in, you can still hear Nicole. Whispering stories. Waiting. Collecting. Until the lake gets hungry again.